start.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, there was something came up on that. This means some are very essential for the world and some are essential due to economic problem. So please tell me what to do. So I think what she's trying to ask, or he's trying to ask, if they have some kind of a device and they're not well educated, how will they be able to take it to market?
So, so if somebody is educated enough to have created a device, which means they understand that there is a product and a differentiation and a need. So then what you do is get yourself a team that is complementary. Often we don't pick up teams quick enough. So if you brought in somebody who can help you with the go-to market, then you, the idea person, continues to develop, innovate, go to version 1.1, 2, 2.0, whatever it is, a roadmap for product development as the core entrepreneur, and your co-founder or a key hire is the go-to market person and will help you take that idea to the market, help you assess at what price point it will work, and how to package and take it to market. So you don't need to do everything yourself. And if you have the passion and can communicate that passion, you'll actually get good talent who may take part of your equity and work for you.
Okay, I have a question for you. When do you know whether to scale or not to scale?
That's really a fantastic question, because always we are under pressure saying, why don't I scale? If we scale too quickly, then too we have challenges. So what do we need to scale? First of all, a robustness in the product or service. So we test it with a few people and be confident that it is at least a minimum viable product to take to market. So starting point is that. The second is we need to have certain standard processes in the company, our accounting system, our sales management system, our recruitment and onboarding system, even if it is 3-4 people, because moment you scale, you are then looking at adding more and more customers. And the manner in which you deal with your customers makes the difference whether your scaling happens, whether references will happen, virality will happen. And if at that customers don't get a good feel because yours are not yet been set up, then you'll have serious challenges in scaling up. So first is that you have a robust enough or a minimal viable product, that you have some degree of processes for managing customer interaction, managing billing, collections, things like that. So accounting systems, and some robustness on hiring and onboarding. So some systems, governance a little bit therefore around that, and a minimal viable product to understand that you're ready to scale. Okay. So starting point.
So before scaling, what you're really saying is they will need to know somehow that they are ready to scale before they can actually get into it. Would that be?
So that, yeah, and how do you know you're ready to scale? 3-4 things, which is some reference customers are testing, that you have unit economics. That is the first thing, because you don't want to lose money on every sale. Therefore, unit economics. So that's the second. 3 is, moment you have unit economics, you have a sense of pricing. So test the price points. 4 is, when you start getting 1 customer, 2 customers, you can still deal with it personally. But if you are busy servicing customers and more are coming, who's going to deal with them? And therefore the CRM system, it could be just an Excel sheet, but you still have a system for onboarding, interacting with the leads that are generated, converting them to customers, and then onboarding them and servicing them. So those are the systems that you need to have for you to start scale.
Sorry,
Sir,
I'm confused. I've muted them.
sir, this is Java.
Unmute,
So
Jawar.
unmute for your question, please.
Yeah. So can you hear me, sir? This is
Yeah.
Jawahar.
Please post
No,
in the box
yeah,
first, then I
yes.
can unmute you. Then it doesn't have disturbance. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Sir, my question is, say, even after testing all the processes, product, and then, you scale, and then suddenly a thing like Corona comes, the most unexpected things come. When you scale, it's not just the product, right? You also buy new machineries, you employ more people. Then when you go to that scaling, and suddenly the most unprecedented things like Corona happens, then how do you handle those situations?
So this is, a black swan, as they say. It is
Okay.
totally unexpected and impacts customers and yourself and your employees. At which time, uh, the way to do this is to conserve whatever cash you have and tide over a few months and start figuring out an alternate method of reaching customer and service. Many companies have actually managed to start talking to customers. Now, the question is this a luxury product, is it something that is needed for me to continue to do business, or it is a value add to me as a customer? If it is something that I can manage without, then the customer will not take this as a priority. Whereas if you actually have a differentiation and you are a needed product in their value chain of the customer, then the customer is also trying to find a way to buy. So the first thing is, in any such unexpected, the first thing is survive. And survival means working with your team to cut down on all costs, cut down voluntarily as much as possible on salaries, on rental, all the costs that are fixed today. How do you cut it down so that you survive? Once you survive, then you rethink the strategy to reach customers online and then find ways to reestablish your differentiation and need and slowly rebuild the business. But first is conserve cash and survive. And your team will also understand that if you don't survive, they have to look for other jobs. So I have seen during these last 4 or 5 months, all teams have come together, all are making sacrifices together in order to survive and then restart and actually thrive. Many companies are starting to now thrive and coming to 50, 70, 80% of pre-corona.
I have a couple of more questions on the chat
Thank you,
box.
sir.
So I'll ask
Thank you.
here. Thank you.
Sure.
Jodi, you can unmute and ask Ram the question directly. Go for it.
Thank you, sir. Hi, sir. So I have a question. Like, to how do we determine, to what extent we can scale? What are the various methods in which we can assess the market demand of a particular product so that we can decide on the extent of scaling, sir? Thank you.
So market demand by itself may not give you the ability to get that market share. So when you start, you have created a product or a service to fulfill a need in the market. Who is your targeted market? How are they fulfilling that product or service, that requirement today? Is it completely something novel that has happened? Is it replacing something else? So with that, with some secondary data and some primary data, talking to target customers, focus groups, And you don't need to spend too much money to do this. You get an idea of the general target market for you and the market size. And let us say that you're focusing only in Chennai. So who is that target? Maybe 25 to 45 years, young people. And then you say, all right, with an income of whatever it is, what they call as Sec A. And so like that, you target and then say, let me now reach out and then create a pull for your brand and product. As you start getting traction, as you see virality, then you will start understanding that you can scale. There are people asking for it. Leads are coming in. There is inward generation. There's referral happening. And there is a momentum. That is when you start putting more and more resources in fulfilling and marketing. And that is when you decide that, hey, I can go ahead. And if you have that kind of traction and growth and you're profitable at a unit economics, you may spend the margin that you're raising on marketing, but unit economics that you're creating contribution, then you may decide, I want to be the queen in Chennai. I want 90% market share. I don't care about the rest of the country. Or you may have the aspiration saying, I want 25% of national market and go everywhere, for which then you need different kind of resources. Then the fundraising, the talent, and all of that becomes different. And you may decide that, hey, I don't want to do that. I know I'm comfortable doing this in Chennai. This is a profitable business, and I want to have a dominant market share here. So it depends on our aspiration, on the demand for the market, and what your focus group and market size surveys have determined.
We have another question in the chat box. Alex, go ahead and ask your question, please. Alex, unmute. You have to unmute first.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
So I have three for you. I think the first question is, you have been an entrepreneur as well as now an investor. Which role do you actually enjoy more and why? The second part of the question is, what's the difference between an impact investor and a regular investor, and when do you opt for one over another, right? And the third question is, what are three do's and don'ts which an entrepreneur should keep in mind while working with the board, right? These are the top three questions.
All right, Alex, you're testing my memory. So if I forget one of your questions, I'm going to come back to you. But let me start with being an entrepreneur and an investor. There is a time and place for everything. I did 4 startups and I exited all 4. And I built them to scale and profitable businesses. At which time, when I exited SIFI, I was at a crossroad determining what I should do next. There were a number of startups and others who were coming up to me saying, work with us, help us. And I realized that maybe, and especially in Chennai, venture capital was not easily available. Everybody thought entrepreneurship stopped in Bangalore. Didn't realize we had fabulous entrepreneurs in Chennai. And so we decided that we will start Chennai Angels, for example, to start investing and create an enabling ecosystem. My PhD, which I did not too long ago, maybe 12 years ago, was around what are the enabling ecosystem for entrepreneurs to succeed. And so the key was, in order to help more startups, starting with, I decided in and around Chennai and Tamil Nadu, and now of course we do it in many places other than here, or including here, I suddenly realized that able to help a lot more entrepreneurs in the investment. Where the challenge comes is to be able to give the money, be a sounding board and not interfere in the operations. As an entrepreneur and a hands-on guy in the past, one is always tempted to come in and do things rather than be a sounding board to the entrepreneur. And so now I have got that balance. It took me a few years. And I now thoroughly enjoy the investing and the support and the mentoring role that I play. What was the second question, Alex?
What's the difference between an impact investor and a regular investor?
The customer segment that the company addresses. Elevar, for example, is an impact investor. It is an impact investor, fintech, skills, education, healthcare. It has been returning to its investors, LPs, commercial return like anybody else who are not necessarily in impact. And therefore, the difference is only the customer segment. Everything else is similar in terms of wanting scale, because the problems that are there, whether in India, impact solutions can be huge as opportunity to solve. And therefore, the only difference is who is the customer, and that's it. Otherwise, in terms of return expectations, scalability, all of that, it is the same. And the third?
Alex?
The third is top 3 do's and don'ts while working with the board.
See, one of the challenges is how do you appoint a board? And sometimes your board is your investors. But what you really need are complementary skills, domain experts on your board who are strategic and who can give you the connects for your business to grow. Most of us think, let us build the business and then we will worry about governance. That is wrong. You will be able to raise proper funding. You will be able to sleep peacefully at night. You will be able to attract talent and interact with the board if you have good governance from day one. So the way to interact with the board is to have people who have some time and not just come in for your quarterly board meetings, sit there for the 2-3 hours and go away and do some answering or questions of you. That by itself, at the stage at which many of you are, is not enough value addition. You need to be able to talk to them when you have challenges. You may have somebody who is fantastic at marketing on your board. Then that person needs to look at your strategy for marketing and give you some advice. Not too much time. An hour or 2 a month. And that is enough for you to get the best out of these people. So the way to interact is to find board members who will give you time between board meetings, who are excited by what you are doing, and who can give you a strategic view and relevant connects to the product and market that you are building out. And lastly, be transparent. Everybody hates surprises. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. And therefore give a heads up. And your board meetings then become easier because everybody is on the same page as you. So keep them on the same page and interact with them. Get people on the board who have the time to help you and the inclination to help you.
Okay. Jamal, if you touch the screen, the mic will come up. You hit the mic and you'll unmute yourself.
Okay, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
Yep.
Sir, my question is, when you scale and then suddenly you see the technology for manufacturing the product has drastically changed. For example, so, we had cassette players, audio cassettes, and suddenly one day CDs and DVDs took over. And then suddenly one day Apple came out with iPods. And then the way we listen to music now has completely transformed.
What's the question?
Sir, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I couldn't hear the question.
Yeah. The question is, so when we scale and then suddenly we have a change in technology of manufacturing a product, how do you then scale down? Because I would have already invested crores of money in machinery for making a product. I would have scaled, and then suddenly the technology for changing that, making that product has drastically changed, or the people using the technology has drastically changed. Then how do you scale down and embark into the next technology?
So starting point is that you are not living on an island cut off from the rest of the world, which means
Okay.
you're not in touch with your customer at all. There was enough signals that the music industry was going to be destroyed in the way it was functioning. And anything that you look at, you know that there is somebody working to compete with you and make you irrelevant. Which means, if you remember the guy in Intel who said, be paranoid. Be paranoid that you can be out of date, that you are no longer relevant in the market, which means be close to your customers and the next. How many of you read up things like TechCrunch and are connected and members to understand where is technology going? What are the ideas that are being incubated in the IIT Madras incubators? So what are the new ideas coming? Like that elsewhere in the world. There's so much material available today. If you took the trouble to be paranoid, you need to be paranoid. You need to know that there are people who will copy your idea and come out cheaper in the same way that you have done, meaning same technology, forget about new technology. But most of us get into comfort zones and complacencies after we start our business and it is cruising along. And that is the danger. At no point in time can we be complacent if we are in business. That somebody is working to destroy us is paranoia. Through new technology, new price points, and every customer is looking for something more convenient. And it is not just technology, it is business models. And we have all read the cases about Uber and Airbnb who have completely disrupted markets by business models. You don't need to own anything and you can just pay per use. The way we are making payments today, that whole thing is going to change even more. So there is a constant change and people are innovating. And if you have great margins in what you're doing, expect that the whole world is targeting to find a way to take away that margin from you. So constant alertness, no complacence, and then you won't necessarily be in that situation. You at your peak would have actually sold off your business to somebody else, maybe, if you are alert enough and have the cash to go out and try new technologies and be nimble. So these words of agile, nimble, all of that has got everything to do with all that you do, your investments, your technologies, that robots can replace you, that your own products will be out of date tomorrow. And so be paranoid, have your ear to the ground, attend and read. There's so much reading that you can do about what's happening and what are the trends that are coming. And it can easily be just unrelated. So read and join, connect the dots, but don't be complacent and be paranoid.
Thank you, sir. Very wonderful explanation. Thank you so much.
Great. We have Selva-Murthy has got several questions. So
okay,
I think
if you ask me one at a
one
time,
by one. I think you ask one at a time. Don't tell him all three in one go. Selva-Murthy, please unmute and please go for it. One question. If sir, let's answer, then you ask the next question.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So good evening.
Good evening.
I'm a new startup. My first question, sir, what impressed you to start entrepreneurship?
So I was actually in a multinational, Johnson and Johnson. I was actually doing a wonderful job because I had an opportunity. Johnson and Johnson globally were buying companies, and my job was to go meet those new companies that had been bought and see if I can introduce them in India. And in doing that, I did the question that was asked: how do you assess demand? How do you assess price points? And I suddenly, as I started doing this for the different products of Johnson and Johnson, I also was seeing what was happening in the market. And this was in 1984 that after a visit to the US, one of my friends had this idea of starting computer retailing. In 1981, IBM introduced the desktop, the PC.
Okay.
And then the IBM clones started coming. And so in 1984, I started a company called Computer Point, where people could walk in and have a choice of desktops and software, all on these floppy disks and CDs and stuff like that, for small and medium enterprises. The big guys dealt directly with the OEMs. So for the small guy, the SMEs, we started this retail store. And I started it because I saw that computers and desktops all over the world were just taking over.
Okay.
And I was in the job of finding markets for products. So I said, why not I do it for myself? I had a small son and wife, and Johnson's salary was not something to be sneezed at. But this seemed like a great idea. So, and somebody gave me a showroom to use on Worli. And because of that, I had a starting point. So that I had no more excuses. And I was truly excited. And computers were still strange. You still had to take off your shoes to go in and see a computer. Here we put a huge glass front. I had kids from colleges as our salespeople. They used to come in the evening and hang around. For them, it was great fun. So when people saw youngsters, the small and medium entrepreneur would walk in.
Okay.
And so we broke the barrier of saying, I can also use it. And so just the fact that I saw that computers would take over, it is what Jawahar was asking about: how do you see trends and protect yourself? I felt that the way I was doing business was going to be out of date and computers would take over. So why don't I get into the driver's seat and sell these computers and help small and medium enterprises succeed? So it was satisfying in that way, and it was a new area, and that's how I now become an IT pioneer.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but manage your risk.
Sure, sir. Thanks for sharing, sir. So I'm to ex J&J, but
Okay, good.
it is from
Good for you.
2008.
I left in 84.
Oh, I think you're the senior most person. So my second question, sir. So what is your idea about AI-based telecommunication market in healthcare? So you see that a lot of trends happening. What is your thought on that? Since you're from J&J.
Yeah, maybe from J&J, but that was 26 years ago, or 46 years ago. So, so it's a long time, 36 years ago. But see, understand that what do we use AI for today, machine learning, AI, is to be able to use data to define or refine algorithms through continuous learning to be able to either give you a better solution or a better response, some insights by which decisions can be taken, better diagnosis, better treatment, whatever it is. So machine learning, AI, is going to be used more and more because it helps refine data that you pick up into learning so that you can respond better with better insights. So telemedicine is going to take over significantly, and telediagnosis, telecare in many forms. And what do you do with all that data that you pick up? And therefore AI ML, depending. And again, AI ML is like saying healthcare.
Yeah.
You need to get sharper and be able to say what is the use and what are the insights you will generate with that AI or
Okay.
ML. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
So my third question, sir. Uh, Sir, I think since it is IIT incubator, so just to understand how we can able to make our ideas to be able to pick the final product by working with the IITM incubator. What is the way to go forward? How we can able to approach and get it
That is
engaged with them?
not for me to answer. That you have Muthu Singaram right there, and he sits right there. So that's a question you need to ask of
So
him. I sit as
what are you doing? You drop us the email and we will take it forward to the right incubator. We have several incubators.
Sure, sure, sure. Thanks, Muthu. Thanks.
Just drop one of us an email and we get it sorted out. And like Ramaraj says, he's absolutely right. We'll respond to that question. And there's another question on the chat board now by
Yeah.
Nitya. Nitya, go for it.
Hello, sir. I'm Nidya. I wanted to ask, as a startup, what are the factors we have to consider when we are competing with, an already established big company in the market? Say, for example, if I have a baby food product, so we all know everybody goes for Cerelac default. So, how do we attract customers, and what are the factors should I even consider before thinking about getting into market?
would you, if you had a baby, would you switch? So the key is, it looks a great idea in an incubator, in a lab. There is a large multinational that is spending huge amounts of money creating trust. A mother will not try anything new for her baby unless there is serious trust. So it has to first have that trust, which means a unique differentiation you have to create. That means something that the Nestle's of the world are not doing. And then a trust that I can try it. So creating a cheaper version of a baby milk powder or anything like that is not going to help you take them on. Suppose you find out that some of the stuff that they are taking today is harmful and mothers are getting worried, and you have a solution that has been tested and the trust has been built, then yes. So what is the differentiation? Who is your target market? And would they switch? It is not easy to replace an established player unless you have powerful differentiation. And most of us don't think of that differentiation. And just put yourself in the customer's shoes. And what would take you to switch from something that you have had and you would give it to your younger brother, sister, or a child at some date? And so key differentiation, what will make you switch and how do you build the trust? If you have that, for example, I know friends of mine who have created a product called Yoga Bar. This is a supplement energy bar, and it's a great breakfast bar. So first is they did it in small in Bangalore, test marketed it, made sure that people tried it. Social media, they got write-ups done so that it's a food item to be consumed. It's not something to wipe your hand and throw away. And then slowly they built the trust. And moment they started getting adoption, then they raised capital and spent money on marketing and distribution. And today they are a huge company, and you can find the product on every shelf, or you can buy it off Amazon. But they took some time to create a differentiation, all natural stuff that we all look forward to, tested it out, gained some confidence and trust in consumers, then put resources behind it to scale. So differentiation, test market, get references, and then build trust, then scale.
Okay. I've got a question for you, Ram.
Yep.
Is there different types of scaling?
Sorry.
Is there different types of scaling, or is scaling just one thing?
Not at all. It's a nice question, because what happens is we are a young country from an entrepreneurship point of view. Maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, being in business was not exactly a great thing socially. I know in my early days as an entrepreneur, I've had people tell me, I need to get married, so I'm going and joining an Infosys or a Wipro or somebody. 2 years later, I'll come back to you. I enjoy what I do, but I don't think I'll find a partner. No in-law is going to take me because I'm a high-risk person, and nobody understands business and startups as respectable. That is gone. So there is opportunity now, and it is respectable, it's looked up to, and most importantly, there's an enabling ecosystem. Money is available, and you don't get killed for making mistakes. You actually might be able to start a second business, and that experience you've learned may actually get you quicker capital, because they think, hey, tried and would have learned, so let's fund somebody here. So there is an enabling environment, starting with is that socially you're accepted, and you will, at a party, you can proudly say, hey, I am an entrepreneur. I run a startup. Now, so that is the starting point. Then comes your personal aspiration. Many people are very happy in doing something, and at the end, what we call as a work-life balance. That I don't, at the beginning of your startup, you will be working 24/7, 365 days, and then you reach a certain level. But you don't get complacent and you don't get wiped out, but you say, I don't want to go beyond Chennai, or I don't want to go beyond this, and here let me create all the differentiations, let me stay alive, pivot, do whatever. But I'm happy with this. I don't want to go beyond this, because this is a nightmare for me personally to go beyond this. I'm very happy with what I have. I can play tennis in the evening and spend some time with my daughter and still be an entrepreneur and make enough money and enjoy what I'm doing. So that there's nothing wrong with that. So you scale up to your aspiration. So different scaling starts with your personal aspiration, and nothing wrong in everybody setting their aspiration. The challenge comes when aspirations are there, but you don't execute because of fear of failure. Fear of failure is what holds us back sometimes. If that is the case, then you need to find a way to break that fear of failure and get on with life and go out and meet your aspiration. So scaling is based on opportunity and based on your aspiration and your ability to raise the resources to back the two.
Okay. Now, the next question I have here is, as far as teams go, do you need to drastically change the team as you shift from one level of scaling to another level of scaling?
So you may have to change yourself.
Okay.
For example, I may love to be the product development person. I want to
Okay.
continuously innovate. I am close to the customer to understand what is needed, and I know how to bring product version 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mhm.
I would love to, I don't have the skill sets to build a great sales team uh, and get into operations and manage investors and all of that. So I may become the chief product officer. I may become the chief, technology officer. It has got everything to do with the role you play in the company. Don't mix
Mhm.
it up with shareholding. I may still own the majority in the company and the others hold stock options. So often the problem comes in mixing up shareholding with roles. So I am a shareholder and I'll work to my strengths and I'll hire people who can complement me and take me to meet my aspiration and opportunity. I can talk about the product. I'll get somebody who can talk to investors very well, who can build processes, and who can go out and scale. And I will give the products that will go there. My shareholding may need not shift. I may still own 76% and I give 3, 5, 10% to the others. So the confusion comes that in trying to bring other people, you may give even more salary to them than you, because that's what gets you to meet your aspiration and take your valuation up, and your shares become that much more meaningful. Your CEO or COO may earn more than you, but will have far less stock than you. So shareholder is different from running the company. And here you will bring people who can help you meet your aspirations and who can help you take the product to market and help you resource it to meet your aspirations.
Okay, cool. I have another question on the chat board. I think they can unmute this person. Jody, I think you can unmute, right? So I don't have to ask it. You can ask it directly.
Yes, thank you, sir. Sir, so does improvement in terms of quality or in terms of advancement of features of a product also come under scaling, or is it something else? Thank you, sir.
See, when you scale, you must remember that there is a competitor who will copy you and come. You're sitting in the IIT incubator, not too many people will know what you're doing. You come out into Chennai market, maybe 10 people know. You go nationally, maybe now 1 lakh people know who are interested. And therefore, you need, therefore, to be able to keep that differentiation uh, alive. So if I come in to copy you, I will add a bell or a whistle to your product and say I'm different from you and go to your customer segments. So constant improvement is a must. Customer needs are changing. Competition is coming. Jawahar's question was, what happens if somebody comes and makes me obsolete? Everybody is trying to make you obsolete. So if you think you don't have a product development roadmap and you will retire with what you have, even if you take the Horlicks and the Bonvita that we had as children, it's very different today than what it was then. The way it is marketed, some of the ingredients in it, the level of sugar in it, all of that, at least the way they communicate it, is changed. So even on something like a staple product like that, take rice, and everybody is talking about boiled rice, raw rice, organic rice, many things, milk. So nothing remains stationary. And if you have a mindset of being stationary and think you can survive, that means you are already walking dead. And so don't ever think that your product will survive, and you have to keep innovating and enhancing. Need not be incredible. And all your inputs will come from the market itself if you are close to the customer and listening to your targets.
Thank you, sir. Uh, I'm sorry if my question sounds very rudimentary because I don't have a business background. How does this differ from pivoting? Like, how do we differentiate scaling in terms of quality from pivoting? Thank you, sir.
Pivoting is 90 degrees. It may be a target segment. You thought your product is great for 45 years and above, and it turns out it is for the teenager. Then you have pivoted in terms of target segment. You might have thought you could have sold it at 100 rupees and done some quantity. You suddenly realize you now have to sell it at a 10 rupees. So that's a pricing pivot. But the biggest pivot is when you completely change your business. You have an app that is, you think, now going to work selling to the B2B side, and you have B2B customers, you may suddenly realize that I need to go to B2C, or from B2C, you're going to B2B. So pivoting is not incremental changes, but a dramatic 90-degree, 180-degree change in every aspect or a key aspect of your business. Any aspect of your business, when you make a fundamental change, that is a pivot. A constant improvement and innovation, change, continuous change, Kaizen as they call it in Japan, is something that is needed for your business to survive. That is not pivoting. Scaling is not pivoting. Scaling is just doing the same thing at a different level. Pivoting is doing it at a 90-degree angle to what you were doing.
Okay, thank you. Renee, please unmute and ask your question. Renee Kurian.
Hi, sir. So if I want to take a new product to the market, which is based on the technology like blockchain, and less people understand this technology called blockchain, like what should be my strategy to get into the market?
See, the problem is, the moment we are a technology person, we feel very excited, blockchain. We feel very excited that it is something that is new and sexy to talk about. And so that is called a feature. When you come to a customer, the customer is looking at a benefit. So what is the benefit that a blockchain does? It helps you do a peer-to-peer transaction. It helps you create trust for that transaction. It helps you understand that nobody can tamper with the data that you have in your own distributed database. So that it's a blockchain will come when you say to a customer, the benefit is you can do peer-to-peer transaction. And then the customer is going to say, how the hell can I do peer-to-peer? And then you say there is this technology called blockchain that enables. But if you come to the user and say blockchain, the user is going to say, I don't care whether it's blockchain or any other chain. What on earth does it do for me? So when we are talking about market, we talk about a customer and a benefit to the customer. Blockchain is an enabler of that benefit. It's a feature. Always when you're talking market and customer language, it's a benefit. So if you told me something and I can ask you a question, so what? Then it's a feature. If I asked you how, then it's a benefit.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Unmute yourself, Jawal, and ask for the question. I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you, sir. So when I am scaling, right? So how do I ensure that I have covered all my bases? Because in terms of handling this, can we?
How will you? You're saying that when I cross the road, please guarantee that I won't get hit by a bus. All that we can do is look right
not
and
in that
left.
perspective, sir.
Yeah, then.
In the what I'm referring to is say like and I'm scaling from 1x to 10x. So how do I ensure that I can handle 10x? What are all the basic things that I need to make sure that yes, I'm ready to handle 10x now?
Nothing. What you need to do is prepare that you can actually handle 2x properly, from
Okay.
1x to 2x. Is your process scalable? Moment you have 2x, is your response time a disaster? Is your customer support a disaster? Or is it going as seamlessly as when it is 1x? We do every month, every quarter, every year, we can do the scaling. At each step, you need to be sure. So there are people who will then build a mousetrap and hope the business will scale. As an entrepreneur, you will bring your infrastructure to scale just ahead of your scalability.
Okay.
And
You're
what
saying
happens
do
if
it in small steps, right? Do it in small steps and not directly
I'm
go to
saying
10.
do it in, no, it depends on if you are able to raise $100 million and you can hire all the people and do everything. So you need to understand how are you resourcing yourself. You need to understand how are you building those fortress and systems to be able to cope with the scale. Do you have enough people to cope with that scale? Then you can decide to do it incrementally or exponentially. But it all depends on your ability. You want to raise 100 million, you may have to give 80% of your company away, maybe 90%. And you say, well, I'm going to work for somebody else. I don't want to do it. Whereas if you did it incrementally, you may have to give away only 25%. And so you say, hey, that's better. That's why I keep saying aspiration goes with what you are trying to do. And always, and you can increase month on month, you can do 50% increase, you can do a 10% increase. And as you gain confidence, you can then become 40, 50, 100%. You need to be in control based on the resources you can raise and the fact that you're working with some aspiration. Are those aspirations getting met?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
We have one more question on the chat box. Go for it, Selvamurthy.
Hi, sir. Sir, my question is that what are the critical areas one need to do on the top priority before starting any startup? Your suggestion, sir.
Starting point is being very clear why you want to be an entrepreneur.
The voice is
Many
breaking.
a times is an ass, so I want to be a startup. Sorry. Any better? Is it better?
It's
Is it
much
any
better,
better?
sir. Much better, sir.
Okay. See, be clear why you want to be an entrepreneur. Many a time it is something emotional like my boss is an ass. And so I want to leave. And or three of my classmates have now become entrepreneurs and they drive a better car than I do. Uh, I, these are motivators. These are things that you want to look at. Just understand that being an entrepreneur is an extraordinary amount of hard work, risk, reputation. Work-life balance doesn't exist. It's only work. There is no life. There is so much that you're personally accountable for, to your socially, to your family, to everything. And you will do it only if you're passionate about something and you have a purpose that you want to go and do. What drives you to this? So be very clear the motivation to become an entrepreneur. That's the first. Second, do you have an idea? Do you know a problem and do you have a solution that you think might work? You may then go to an incubator and test it out, try it out, etc., and refine it, pivot, do whatever. But have you found a problem and do you think you have some possible solutions how to approach it? It is not just saying, I want to be an entrepreneur and get there. Then you don't have either a purpose or a problem to solve or anything, and you really won't stay passionate or committed. So the starting point is very clearly, why do you want to do it? Do you have the stamina for it? Do you have a problem that you want to solve? I'll tell you a simple thing. There was a guy in IIM Ahmedabad. I think we may have all read about him. I think came to IIT Madras also. We called him the Food King. He was studying in Ahmedabad and suddenly realized that most youngsters study late in the night and there was no midnight canteen at that time. So he decided to start serving, I think, Maggie noodles or something, opened a midnight canteen because he saw a problem of no snack in the middle of the night. He solved
Okay.
it. He also had the passion to say, I don't mind being in the food business. Now, for me, I want to be in the tech business. I don't want to be in the food business. I don't mind using technology to enable food services better, but it's not my cup of tea. So each one, he saw that as a great thing. He started with that and then ended up graduating and starting a corporate catering business and scaled it and became very successful. So
Okay.
areas of passion, a problem to solve, and stamina. Overnight, nothing much is going to happen.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
Unless it is a lottery kind of.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Ram, thank you very much. It's 6 o'clock now, so I'm going to let you go. But before I go, I would like to ask you one thing. We always upload these videos on our YouTube channel, so people who couldn't come today can listen to it for the benefit of it. So I hope that's okay with you.
Perfectly fine.
Okay, and thank you very much. You've always been very kind whenever I reach out to you. And very many years ago, when I first came to India, I came and reached out to you as a stranger, and I think that you're always very supportive to entrepreneurs and giving them good advice. I think we've been very lucky to have you this afternoon with us, and I thank you as always for your continued support. And whenever we go back, please come visit the incubator because we haven't had a chance to come to the MedTech incubator. So you have to come and have a look.
I will.
Yeah, and thank you.
Thank you.
very
I
much.
enjoyed the session too. So
Great.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ram. Thank you. Bye, and thank you everybody for coming up. And the next session is on Tuesday, so we'll see you back on Tuesday. Thank you very much. Bye, 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 everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.